Hi everyone, this video will be focusing more towards how do we enter the content in Microsoft Excel, and if at all there are any changes to be made in the content, how do we make these changes, which is what we call it as editing. So in the previous videos we have tried exploring various options in Microsoft Excel which are very basic to its level, and we've also tried to understand how a Excel window look like. So this has been already discussed. So let us now touch base these two concepts in this particular video as to how do we enter the content in Excel, and once the content is entered, if at all there have to be some modifications that a user wants to make, how do we make those changes? That's what we call it as edit. So to start with, entering the content in Excel is actually done in two methods. One method is a very regular method which everyone does and every one of you actually know. Say for example, I am trying to create a table or a kind of a database with three columns. I first have to type the column employee ID. I've just taken this table for an example. Say there are three columns in my data which I have to create. The column names are employee ID, employee name, and designation. So these are considered as columns in Microsoft Excel. If you look at this from the perspective of statistics or business analysis, these are considered as variables. Or to be more precise into analytics perspective, if you look at, these are considered to be uh, so these are considered to be features. So we are trying to understand three different terms, and all of these terms refer to the columns only. So in Excel we call them columns, we may call it as variables, we may also call it as features. All of these three will give you same meaning. Just to be pretty easy for you to understand from the Excel's perspective, moving forward we'll try to use these as column. So now we have three columns in this table which we should have manually typed, and then whatever the data you would like to enter appropriately under each column, we can start entering. The same data entry can be done in another method by creating forms in Microsoft Excel. Now, the regular way of entering data, everybody knows when it comes to creating data through forms. There is a process where first you have to create the forms, and the form would be on the screen. And based on the forms, you can add your data, and whatever the data you enter into forms under employee 1, under employee name, or under designation, as you enter and click on new record, the new record will be already stored there. So let us show you hands-on how this process is done. Okay, here we have come to Microsoft Excel where three columns are already created by name employee ID, employee name, and employer designation. Let me quickly give some data to it. Let's say employee ID, I would say EMP001 I'll start with, and I would say EMP002. I will at least create 5 records for your understanding. Okay, I have just done a flash fill by dragging the column. So you have 5 employee IDs already created. I would say employee, for the employee names, I would just randomly take employee 1, and I can call them 5 employees here. I'm just taking some random names. Okay, employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, 4, and 5. With respect to designations, I would say sales manager, marketing head, I could say HR head, financial analyst, and then say data analyst. So I have these 5 employees data which I have created in a regular way manually. So this is how you create or enter the data in Microsoft Excel in a very regular format. Now that you have understood how to create data or enter the data in a regular way, what I'll do, I would delete this data and I'll show you the second method of adding the data to the Excel. How do I do it? Usually this should be one of the options called forms that should be available in your data ribbon, but this option would not be usually available by default. So these option of creating forms in MS Excel would be there available in the options. I'll just show you now how do we activate this particular option. Go to File tab, File menu. Below you can see More. Under More you go to Options. Now you see this Excel options are displayed to you on the screen. From the Excel options, you just go to Quick Access Toolbar. Go to Quick Access Toolbar, and you see here Popular Commands is in highlight. Instead of Popular Commands, you go click All Commands. The moment all commands are mentioned, all the commands that are possible in Microsoft Excel, whatever the commands you have in Microsoft Excel, are now listed here. Now the option which I am searching for is Form. So all these options are ordered in alphabetical manner. So I'll just search for F. Just scroll down till you check the F character here. In F here, I've got to F. Now see here, there is Form option available, and I've already have my Form tab added to my Quick Access Toolbar. I'm just removing it at the moment. Now that I want it for your purpose, I'll just add, and there is Form tab, Form option added to my Quick Access Toolbar. Then go click on OK. Now you see that the Form button is created here. Now, how do we use this form? How do we create this form using this? Before you click onto that, you need to select the columns. So what are the columns that I have? Employee ID, employee name, and employee designation. Just select all these columns, and when your columns are selected, go to form icon, click onto that. It will ask you for certain questions. You don't need to read. You can blindly go click on OK. The minute you click on OK, you can see that a form has been created with the columns which you have made available in Excel. So the columns that you have given are employee ID, employee name, and employee designation, and you can see that all these three columns are mentioned here. Now let us enter the data one by one. So in employee ID, we can mention EMP001. Okay, I'll put it in capital, EMP001. Employee name is EMPLOY1. Designation, say sales manager. So now entry of my data is over. For you to get this data added to the actual table, go give a click on new, which means this data will go there and the application will be ready for the new records. Click on new. Now you see that employee data has been added for the first record, and now for the second record you again go and type here EMP002. Now here EMPLOYE2, designation marketing head. Now here you can just go for your previous data. You can these are the tabs which are useful to work with this particular form. Maybe now the data is already added here. Now I can say what is my previous record. I can go to previous record where I get 1. I want to next record, I can see it here. If I want to delete some record, I can click on delete. And if I wanted to create a new record, I'll just go click on new. Or if you wanted to close the form, I can go and click on closing the form. And now the form is closed. Now whenever you wanted this form to come back again for adding the data, again select your columns, go click on the form icon, and you see already the existing data is already displayed. You just need to go to the last record and just click on new. The moment you click new, again EMP00. Okay, now the data has been freeze because the selection was there. Otherwise you can extend your table, you can add more records, and you can create new. The data keep adding to the existing database. So that's about forms in Microsoft Excel. I wish you should be able to practice it in your computers now. Now I'll close this form. Next we have another things to discuss called editing. Editing the content. What does it mean to edit the content? One of the process of editing the content is deleting the content. Let's say I have this employee number 2 which I don't want and I want to delete. I'll just go select this data, I go delete. There are two ways to remove it. Either you can go with backspace, this is deleted, or you just go and click on delete till it is deleted. In any one of these ways your existing data can be deleted. I'll just come back, I'll keep my data back. So that is how you just delete the content. And when it comes to modification of the content, which means instead of typing employee 1 and employee 2 in full, I wanted that I modified EMP1 and EMP2. I just wanted, or I'll say employee name 1 and employee name 2. I wanted to mention it that way. Now how do I modify that? Now employee 1 is already there. If I start typing fresh, it will altogether replace the data. But I just wanted to edit that. I just wanted to modify content. Instead of mentioning employee 1, I just wanted to go and say employee space name space 1. That's how I wanted. Now how do I do that editing to the current cell? One way I can do it is by going and giving a double click onto the cell and use arrows to move. I think you can see my cursor blinking here. I'll go employee space namespace 1. This is one way of editing or modifying the content inside the cell. The other way, if you don't want to use mouse and give a double click, what you can do, you just go use F2. If it is in a keyboard, you can go with function F2. It gets into editing mode of that particular cell. Now you see that the cursor is blinking out there. In such case, you just go again, employee name, and type the content that you wanted. Now the editing is done. So that way you can modify the content within the cells. To make it more better, I'll just extend the data a little bit. Let's say I've made 10 records. Even for the employee records, I'll make 10. I would copy them as well, and I'll make a lengthier records here. So I have this employee data created. So here we have learned about deleting content in the cell. We've learned about content modification. And now I'll try to show you how to add the rows. Say for example, I have made I have 7 8 here instead, and then I have the rest order. Same here, I would make it employee 8, and I would like to drag it out here. Now what happened with this data? You have employee 1 2 3 4 5 6, but this record of employee 7 is missing in the data. But I wanted the employee record to be inserted between employee 6 and employee 8. You just see what are the row names. It is row number 7. This is row number 7 where you have employee 6, and in row number 8 where you have employee number 8. I wanted to insert employee 7 between 7 and 8. So what I'll have to do, I just need to insert one row between 7 and 8, and I would add my record out there. So how do I insert that? One way of inserting, give a right click, select the entire row, give a right click on this and say insert. Now you see that the row is inserted, and here you can type your employee 7 record. This is one way by using mouse. If you wanted to do it with keyboard, just again go click on 8. You have a shortcut called Shift Control Plus. I'm writing the shortcut Shift plus Control plus. So the shortcut is Shift Control plus. If I use this shortcut, I'll be able to add the name. I will be able to add the row. Now clicking on 8, I'll just press Shift Control plus. Now you see that my row is added. If I have to delete this row, I would just say Control minus. I repeat, if I have to delete the 8th row which is blank here, I would just click Control minus. The row would be deleted. The same will be applicable for the columns also. I wanted to, let's say, insert a column between B and C. I just need to click on C, Shift Control plus. Column is created. I wanted to remove the column, Control minus. So whether you're adding the row or adding the column, the shortcut is Shift Control plus. Or if whether you're removing the row or removing the column, or deleting the row or deleting the column, the shortcut is Control minus. I wish these things you understood. Now when it comes to formula, adding the formula, it is always done by starting with equals to symbol. The moment you mention equals to in your cell, uh, the Excel will understand that you're trying to enter the formula. Let me simply type a formula here, count EA. Count all the values. You can give a conditional here. The conditions here, I'm just selecting all the records here between B2 to B11. All of that I have selected, and I want the Excel to say how many employees are entered here. Just click and see there are 10 employees entered. Don't get confused, though it is showing employee 1 to employee 11. In between, if you remember, we don't have employee number 7. So total number of employee records that are there in this table are 10. Now if you keep here, you can clearly see in the formula bar there is a formula called count A. It is a formula. If at all you wanted to make some changes to the formula, rather than mentioning B11, I would want to say B12. I can modify. So that's modifying the formula. So again, modification of the formula can directly be done at the formula bar, or you can even edit it right there. If the length of the formula is short, you can do the editing right at the cell itself. But when the length of the formula goes too lengthy, sometimes you might have to write the formula which will go up to 100 characters, 120 characters, 150 characters in the same cell. In such cases, editing the formula within the same cell will not be that comfortable. So what we will do, we will go to the formula bar and we'll try to edit here. That's how it is about entire editing. So what we have learned in this particular video, we have tried to understand how two types of entering data into Microsoft Excel. Then we have tried to understand what are the various aspects of editing the content. We have learned how to delete the content from a cell. How do you modify the content within the cell? How do we insert rows and columns? How do we delete rows and columns? And the shortcuts to it. And we have also tried to understand how the formula is added in Excel and how the formula can be modified in Excel and the role of formula bar in this. I hope you understood them pretty well. For the further discussion, thank you so much.